Welcome to Stand Up Memories. What a show
So
we have.
hard to
That
believe.
I couldn't
It is
quite
so
get it
hard
out.
to believe
All right.
that we have such a special guest, and that is the best shirt.
This is a cool shirt. This is a jean shirt.
That's the last thing you should wear on color television.
Oh, man.
It's a bland white shirt.
It's not a white shirt. It's light blue. But the point is, this is Stand Up Memories. This is Jackie the Joke Man,
Do you
Martling.
know why it's so exciting tonight?
It is exciting because of our guest.
This is the first time we have had an actual member, besides me, of the original Magnificent Seven, which was so horribly coined by Jim Myers in 1978 or 79. How he got the balls to call us the Magnificent
Magnificent.
Seven comedians
I
with
can't
no
even
Jewish
pronounce
members and no black members.
The Magnificent. Let me pronounce that correctly. I was a member. I came a little bit later to Long Island
You were the
Comedy.
Magnificent 43rd.
43rd. Yeah. That's right. But the Magnificent Seven were the core beginnings of Long Island comedy, based out of Dixon's White House Inn.
And there's really no reason to say this, except I have got to say it does not include John Ferrantino. I have no reason to put that in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have as our very special guest on our podcast today and tonight, Bob Nelson, the one, the only Bob Nelson. And I really, really mean that. This guy has had such a career, and he is still going strong. And I know we share memories, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
We share memories.
And he is absolutely one of the most talented people in this room.
Oh, stop.
No, you really are one of the most talented people, if not the most, I ever met, which is like exciting.
Well, you do something that I could never do in a million years, which is characters.
Yeah.
And you have a very, very famous routine, and I'm going to insert myself into this. I directed an improv comedy group that Bob was a member of called The Laughter Company.
Is this before you started your stupid college?
Stand-Up University.
He always has to plug his stupid
But I wasn't
college.
doing that.
Just get it over
okay,
with.
no, standupuniversity.com if you want to start out in comedy. That's standupuniversity.com. But I wasn't even going there.
It's in the rearview mirror now.
But I
full steam
actually
ahead.
tell my stand-up students that there's an exercise that I learned at Second City in Chicago called, they used to call it 5 Through the Door.
Yeah.
And the actor comes in and tries to return something at the counter at the department store, and the director yells, "Change!" And he immediately stops, walks a little ways around a chair, and comes back to the counter as a different character. Older, younger, drunk, sober, accent. Anyway, it just has to change. And it was called 5 Through the Door.
So he doesn't tell him what to do.
No,
he just,
the actor has to change on their own. And we used to do that in our classes. We used to do it in the Laughter Company. And Bob, I've told people this. With Bob, it's not 5 through the door. With Bob, it's not 5 through the door. It's infinity through the door.
Just keep turning around.
And he could.
That's a pretty decent compliment.
I mean, I really mean that. I mean, this guy could have kept going forever. And that, not anybody can do that. I mean, and I'll never forget you doing that, and I'm watching, and just my mouth is open, and how amazing you were. But tell me the truth. Is your football bit that everybody loves so much, that is essentially 5 Through the Door, because you change your character.
Yeah.
And the 5 Through the Door in the Laughter Company came before you had the football bit. You developed the football bit, and that bit.
And every one of those characters is instantly distinct, which is just amazing.
Oh.
Like it just.
And it's so exciting because the audience can see you changing. And well, that's the reason why it's so classic.
Yeah. A lot of my stuff is like that. I had a UFO bit where all the different characters saw the UFO landing. It would land on all different parts of the country and different parts of the world.
So everybody had a different take on it.
Everybody had a different take on the UFO. I used to do that all the time, and then I did Letterman and it bombed, so I stopped doing it completely. I get nauseous just thinking about it.
I remember so distinctly the first time I saw you, Minervini. I met Richie Minervini, an old friend of ours, and he said you should come to Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn and meet the guys and try your stuff. I've said this before on the show because I was scared to death because I never had gotten up at a variety thing. I just was in my stupid loud
Well,
band.
rockers.
And I was just about to go out there with my guitar, and Myers pulled me aside and said, I don't think they're going to buy your shit. He said, ever since then, I've done the same thing to everybody. But I remember you were on that show, and with all of all possible compliments, I thought you were from Pluto.
Yeah, right.
I just remember you picking up a candle and walking around the perimeter of the club, and I'm like,
I was rehearsing my lines to the Crucible because I was doing summer stock and I was playing John Proctor.
so you really remember what?
I was doing I was going, a fire is born.
What planet is this guy? I'm just,
You know, the
it's
reason
great.
why, it's funny because Dixon's, Bobby Woods is the reason why I continue with comedy. Because I was doing summer stock, I was doing, musical theater and stuff, and I was doing really well. What happened was I had all these different jobs because I was in theater, so you couldn't have a good job. You had to be a stock boy. I pumped gas. I was a security guard. I'd sleep in my car all night. I didn't do nothing. And it was all these kind of stupid jobs. So if I told my boss, I said, well, I can't come in. I'm going to be in a play the next 2 weeks. And he goes, who cares? You're a stock boy. Get out of here. So what happened was...
You had to do something with that everybody wasn't totally dependent on you.
Yeah, my friends would all come to my show. When I first started doing Dixon's, the first time I went down there, Bobby Woods' the first night, my first night. And
Bob Woods was
Yeah.
a very, very overweight comedian that we lost 34
4 years ago, 34 years
ago,
ago.
who everybody loved and was very funny, and he was very dear to all of us. Another member of the Magnificent Seven.
And he was tough. What happened was, I go on stage, and I didn't have an act. I was doing kind of like what you said, going underneath the table, grabbing a candle, playing with the curtain. I'm going to go vote. I went behind the curtain to vote. And and I was killing because it was all my friends. And I'm really killing. And after the show, somebody says, that guy wants to talk to you. I go, who? The guy sitting at the bar, the big guy with the white hair. I go, that guy? So I walk over to him, and he has a beer in his hand. He goes, I just want to tell you, you're not funny. I go, what? What are you telling me that for? He goes, I'm just letting you know. It's only because your friends are here. And I go, yeah, my friends are here, but I'm still funny. And he goes, no, you're not. And he drinks beer, and he goes like this. He goes, I'm done with you. And he told me to leave, and I'm like going, man. So like 5 weeks later, my friends can't come anymore because they're stock boys and,
Right.
security. They don't make any money. They can't pay the $5 to get in Dixon's. So what happens is I'm on stage, none of my friends are there, and I'm bombing bad. And I'm sweating, and you have this flop sweat going, and I'm trying everything and nothing. They're just staring at me like I'm an idiot. And I said something self-deprecating, and I hear in the back of the room, ha, 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 ha. Now that's the funniest thing you said yet. So I walk over to the bar, and he goes, he buys me a beer. And then from then on, we would just like rank on people, Anybody who died, we would tell him, you suck, you shouldn't be here. It was hysterical. And I wanted to prove to him it was funny, so I kept going.
To this day, you're still
Yeah.
proving it,
Oh, my
proving
gosh.
yourself.
You got good pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, because I was different, I didn't know
Yeah.
what I was doing,
Well, you were getting laughs.
Yeah, well, I'm a product of the old school, Jerry Lewis.
I
Danny
know
Kaye.
I know the name that inspires you the most. You told me Red Skelton.
Red Skelton, yeah.
Now, see, I makes perfect sense to me, and I sat and watched. My mother used to sit and watch me watch him.
Yeah.
So I know exactly, and he's just having the time of his life, and he could do anything.
Yeah, I could see Red Skelton in your stuff, the way you laugh and everything.
Yeah, it's,
It's silly and.
I was down in Fort Lauderdale so long ago that there was still a television in the comic strip, if you could possibly believe that. And me and Bill McCarty, I remember, and a couple other guys were watching. All of a sudden, they say it's Red Skelton's either his 75th birthday or his 50th anniversary in show business. And I'd seen him in 30 years since I was sitting with my mother. And this old guy comes out and stands at the mic and starts laughing and swinging his shoulders. And McCarty's like, that's you! I mean, there's only so many ways you can stand there at a microphone, but But that's great that he's just so loose and talented.
Yeah,
You know.
I love his characters. I always loved the characters. Jerry Lewis, he had the Family Jewels where he plays all these different characters, and Danny Kaye, and of course Red Skelton. I remember one time, my dad and I are watching the Red Skelton show, and I'm like a little kid. I go, Dad, how come Freddie the Freeloader never talks to Clem Cadiddlehopper? They never talk to each other. And my dad goes, because they're the same guy, you idiot. I couldn't get over that.
That's so great.
So that's where when I did my HBO special in '92, where I have all the characters, I wanted my characters to interact with each other. The only way I could think of it was to have different doors and go in and out.
Yeah.
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 That's so fun. That's so fun.
But you'd have to say the real place where you developed the most was the original East Side Comedy Club.
Yes. I was forced to come up with material because I had the Sunday night show, and every Sunday, and I know it was probably different people each Sunday because there's millions of people on Long Island. But in my head, I'm thinking it's the same exact audience.
Right.
So I have to come up with something new. And a lot of my stuff, because of the Long Island Laughter Company, the improv group, I was very fertile in my mind, like with the 5 Through the Door and everything like that. And I would always, like I had a radio, I had the boom box, and I would play with the tuner, and whatever was on there, I would improv with the guy talking. They'd be talking about, sugar in your diet, and I'd be talking to the guy in between.
And you were different, and nobody could do that like you.
Yeah, it was
and
different.
you're so funny.
No, I
So
don't
fun.
think anybody would even dare. Wow.
I wish I had that now. It's so hard because once you get it all out on stage, and then you become an act where you're Bob Nelson, you go up there, you probably have this happen.
You're locked
They
into a
want you
certain.
to do the football, do the duck, do Jiffy Jeff, and after that's like
And
an
anything
hour.
else you do, you could be doing great.
Yeah.
But they're waiting.
Yeah.
They're waiting for your hit single.
Until they yell it.
Right. Right.
And then I finish something where I'm working on it, doesn't go as good as I wanted to, and they go, Jiffy Jeff, Jiffy Jeff. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you get lazy,
Because it works, and
It
if
works,
that's
and you
what
think,
they
yeah,
want
just-
anyway.
You just want to go home.
And if they're really drunk, they yell Freebird because they're confused about where they are.
Well, one of the great things that just makes me so thrilled to even be your friend, and you can Google this, the first time, I think it was the first time that Bob Nelson was on The Tonight Show, he did Jiffy Jeff, which is a punch-drunk fighter. And I don't know, it was 5 minutes, 7 minutes long. And when you were done, Carson turned to the audience, turned to the TV audience and said, that is the hardest you will ever laugh for 5 minutes in your entire life. And I'm like, you couldn't invent
I
a
know,
better
right?
compliment than that, let alone from him. I mean, if I was you, I would have walked outside and shot myself. I mean,
I know. That's,
where you going to go?
that's exactly how I feel. That was the pinnacle. That was the most exciting, most surreal. Like people are laughing, and when you hear the band kicking the drums and they're going like this, and you hear Johnny laughing and Ed is laughing, and it's like it's not even real.
If the audience and Johnny and the band are all laughing, I
Yeah.
can't even imagine.
If that was the pinnacle, what was it like to perform for President Reagan?
It was stressful. It was more stressful than fun. Like when I did Carson, in the old days, they had those big giant cameras that they would sit on and roll around. So you are here, and the audience is a good 50 feet away.
Right.
So I was terrified, and I'm thinking, how am I gonna be intimate? Because we work the clubs.
Yeah.
The guy's right here.
Right.
So I was terrified. And then when they started laughing, and I'm like going, this is not even happening, And it was just like strange. And then when you do the President, it was Ford Theater, and where Lincoln was shot, and the stage was raked. What that means is like the stage goes down on an angle like this.
Like a vaudeville theater.
Yeah, because so people could see the whole dancing and whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember like leaning, trying not to fall forward, and the president's sitting right there with Nancy, and I'm not thinking about my act. I'm trying to do my act, and it's the president of the United States, and Nancy, I'm thinking
You're gonna
she
fall.
has a really big head. This is what's going through my mind. Look at the size of her head. This is what's going through my mind. I'm thinking I should be concentrating on my act, but I couldn't.
So you did the
Did
football
Reagan
bit,
say,
right?
Bob, do the football play?
I think I did I did the football piece, yeah. And unbelievable. It was so scary.
Now, I
The
worked with
Ford
you.
Theater, that is so classic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
And
And
that's
that's
because of Rodney. Rodney got me everything.
Rodney, yeah. Yeah, you opened for Rodney a lot, and he helped you incredibly.
Yeah.
What's the ultimate joke about Ford Theater? I'm doing your job now? Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the play? That's the classic
That's
Ford
just-
Theater joke. A joke without a setup, just the punchline.
At least it's not too soon.
Nah, it's not too soon.
It's still, I think it's still too soon.
Now, Bob, I worked with you not that long ago, and you said something so funny when you walked out on stage. You said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I know we live in different times now that are politically correct, but just listen, I'm grandfathered in." And I just laughed at that because you are grandfathered in.
Boy, do I wholeheartedly rubber stamp that,
Yeah.
same, I've been making people laugh with the same stuff. It's not harmful. If now all of a sudden people wake up and say, I don't think I like that, well, go home.
Yeah. It's like, what's the problem? I carry in my bag now because sometimes you do get people come up to you. And I have in my bag, this is unbelievable. It's when I do the Asian guy, when I do Ping Ye.
Yeah.
I do the Asian guy with the Asian glasses, and they go, I shouldn't do that. That's like really bad. And I says, no, I'm allowed to do it. And I show them this because this is the original packaging, and it says, it's $1.49, right? It says right there, made in China. Look at that. That seriously says made in China.
Right.
So if this is made in China, then I bought the right to do it.
Right.
Chinese.
It's talk about rubber stamp,
That's
right?
it.
So I tell them, I said, look, if the Chinese didn't make it, I wouldn't do it. But I'm helping them with their economy.
They're saying fine.
Yeah.
So there's another character I want to mention, and here's my experience with it. I one time called you on the phone. We were talking, I was confirming a gig or something, and we had a phone conversation from the beginning to the end and hanging up, and the entire time I spoke to Eppy Epperman. I didn't have a single word with Bob Nelson, and I got off the phone and I go, well, that was really funny.
You do know that he is still around in
Yeah,
full
Eppy.
force.
Now
I
explain-
saw
Is
him
he?
4 nights ago.
Yeah, here's Eppy.
Explain to our audience this character, Eppy Epperman.
This is Eppy Epperman. Hey, dudes. I used Eppy Epstein's little thing going.
Eppy is a club owner from the mid or early 70s, had a club called My Father's Place, and I still have a sore throat from explaining to people, no, my father didn't have a club. That was the name of the club, was My Father's Club. And he's such a character, and he offsprings from Eppy, but Bob's Eppy is much more
He's
Eppy than
different, he's
Eppy.
different. What I did was, when you make a character, you want the character to have something different from you. So I took the way that the guy talked, and then the Eppy guy is a cross between the club owner and a guy in Columbus, Ohio. It's a tow truck driver. It's a true story. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and we're snowed in, no show, and we're all sitting at the bar, and it's really coming down. And the door comes flying open, and the guy comes in with these glasses on, and he didn't talk like Eppy, but his glasses were all broken. And he goes, "Hey, it's crazy out there. Oh my God! If anybody needs help with the, I can't pull you out of the hole or anything, but if your battery died, I could jump it because I got really long jumper cables. Because I'm stuck too,
And that's as fresh in your mind.
Yeah,
as-
it was as fresh in my mind where he's like, what the heck is he talking about?
We
That's-
did a sketch in the Laughter Company. It was you and Rosie O'Donnell, and she did the female version of Eppy. And that
I never heard of that.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, she was terrific, and you were terrific together.
She did a movie. Somebody called me up and says, Rosie's doing Eppy. She did a movie where she plays a not so tight person, like kind of autistic.
Challenge.
Yeah,
Challenge.
challenge.
And she's doing Eppy. She's going like this,
Oh,
giving the whole
that's
thing.
fun. Oh, that's
People
wow.
go, she's doing your character. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Not to completely change the subject, but I was in a car with you and Adam Leslie, who we lost.
yeah.
Very funny, very wacky, very crazy fellow. And I don't know if you remember Martin Lewis. was a magician.
I
A
worked with
British
him.
magician.
Yeah.
And the four of us were in the car, and Martin Lewis told us the aristocrats. And then he told us the horribly filthy joke about the colonel. And I can still hear him telling it. And we screamed. We screamed and screamed. And I was like, I think that was the famous me, you, and Adam in Fort Lauderdale for Easter weekend. And we had Easter dinner at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my God.
Wow, I don't remember that.
Great
Martin
guy.
Lewis. I remember that guy. He told me a story. He produced a dove out of the thin air at the end of his act, and he told me the dove is in a pocket for his whole act, and he produces the dove at the end of his act, but it got apparently very, very hot, and the dove died. Oh, gosh. And he didn't know the dove died, and just the way the trick worked, he still produced it. And there was like a poof and smoke, and then there's the dove, and the dove just went bloop, and died right on at the end of his act.
He was I
He was a
think he was
character.
a lot older than us. But I think I Googled him however many years ago, and it looked like he was still alive and kicking.
Wow.
But he was very low key, and the clubs back, they were. It was the Wild West, especially
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
So he would get heckled like crazy, and I just remember he had the greatest line. Someone would heckle him, and he'd say, "What's your name? Have you any idea?"
Hey, Bob, tell us where Jiffy Jeff came from. I love that character. He's so
Yeah.
funny.
Jiffy Jeff is, what happened was I was engaged to a waitress at East Side Comedy Club, and Richie Minervini was engaged to the head waitress, Diane. And they both ran off with the doorman. And Rosie O'Donnell told my wife, Patty, she says, "Hey, Bob really needs a friend." So she would start hanging out with me, and I really liked her. We were friends for the longest time, and she's beautiful, still to this day. And we, 30-something years we're married. Holy cow.
Jeez.
Yeah, so...
She is great.
So what happened was she would go on dates with these guys, and I started to like her, and I started getting jealous. And she'd always go out with these guys like once or twice. They'd pick her up in a limo and give her flowers and stuff, and she'd be driving off in a Bentley and everything. And she started dating this guy who was a boxer. His name was Jeff, and he was punch drunk. His nose was all pushed in. He wasn't really all there.
So it's a real guy.
It's a real guy that this character came from. So what happens is one day I go over her house, and she went to lunch with him like.
But how
once.
did you wind up meeting him?
I met him because she came to the club with him. I didn't really.
But you wouldn't bring him in and introduce him to you.
Let me tell you the story. This is hysterical. I mean, of course I'm embellishing a little bit, but this is basically what happened. So what happens is I go to her house, and I walk in her house, and there's roses everywhere. There's roses in the kitchen. There's roses in the dining room. Going up the stairs, and in the bathroom, roses, red roses. And I'm going, where'd you get all these roses? That guy, she goes, that guy Jeff, that boxing guy I went out with. I go, you just started going out, right? I had lunch with him like once, and and he wants to go out again, and I can't relate to him because I can't really understand a lot he's saying. I go, but all these roses, he must really like you. Shouldn't you this is really going out of his way. And she goes, I can't go out with him. And I says, really? She goes, yeah, listen to this. So she plays the answering machine. Of course, I'm embellishing and I'm making a joke at the end, but she plays the answering, and this is what you hear. It goes, boop. Hello, Patty. Hey, it's me, Jeff. Remember we went to lunch the other day, and I really enjoyed myself. By the way, I sent you 125 roses. If you don't know how many there is now. There's 125 there. The florist told me that it's beautiful. They put them all over your house, and very excited. I would love to come and see them. They told me that the house smells like a floor, like roses. Of course, I can't smell anything because my nose is busted in 14 different places. But I really love to come and see the flowers. But I want to go out with you again, and I'm hoping this is kind of a thing that we could get together. I wasn't going to say this. I have to say, I think I'm in love with you. And I don't know how I could say that right away, but this is my only chance, and I have to tell you that. And also,
I forgot who I'm talking to here. I forgot. Well, anyway, this is Jiffy Jeff. If you could call me back, whatever I was calling you about, could you just call me back and tell me what the heck I wanted? Because I can't. Anyway, better yet, why don't you just do this? Wait for the beep and leave a message. And then what
She
happened?
played that for you.
She played that for me. Of course, that wasn't the real thing. I mean, it did have the
Right,
125
right.
roses, and it did say,
That's
I can't
fantastic.
smell anything. So what happens is, I'm really starting to fall for Patty hard, And I'm at the club. I'm at the east side, and they had that deuce right out front by the pole. Remember that? And he's sitting at the deuce with Patty, and I'm thinking, she's going out with him again. I guess she feels bad for him, And I'm on stage, and I'm kind of upset, because she's with him, and she's smiling at me. She would bring all her dates to come see me, and then she'd move on to another guy and bring him just because she loved me. I mean, she not loved me, but she really liked me. And I really liked her, and we were friends. And what happens is he's sitting there with her, and I get this thing in my head, I'm upset, so I start making fun of him. So I decide I'm going to I start going, hey, how you doing?
With him right there.
Yeah, I put on something on my head to look like a sparring boxing guy. I'm going, anyway, I can't. How you doing? I'm Jeff. I can't smell nothing. My nose is busted, and I love the smell of roses. But you can remind me what they smell like, because I can't smell them anymore. And I'm doing this.
Is she dying?
She's right there, and she's like this. She's like this, and he's like this, like that.
Is anybody in on this at all?
No,
Like does
I'm just
Richie
doing
or
this
anybody?
character, And then I start to get a little nervous because now I'm pushing it a little bit too much, and then I just stop doing it. And then now I got to get off stage. I'm thinking I got to go to the dressing room, which is right past that table. So I'm thinking this guy's going to kill me, So I get off stage, and this, of course, embellishing a little bit, but this is basically what happened. I get off stage, I walk by, and he gets up and he stands right in my way. He goes, hey. I go, hey, how you doing? He goes, I just got to tell you something. That boxing bit you did, hysterical. I mean, it was like your thoughts and my thoughts, and vice versa. I totally related what you were saying. Your boxers are like that, you know that, right? I do that. And I got away with it.
Oh,
you got to keep
that's-
doing that guy. You got to could make, do boxing guys.
That is the greatest story. I never heard that story.
Danny McKenna used to give me the upcoming announcements at Rascals, who's going to be here soon in future weeks. And he would always write, Bob shoulder pads, Nelson. That's a bit
quoted.
you got to really be grandfathered in for.
Yeah.
Most quoted.
The
Wow.
sick thing is that when I was doing it back in the 80s, 85, 84, 83, right around there, I'm doing it, and then I did it on Carson. I did it on HBO with the Rodney
Yep,
Dangerfield.
yep.
And what happened was Lawrence Taylor, all these football players, Boomer Esiason, were booking me to do these fundraisers for their charities, and it'd be like a golfing tournament, and we go golf, and I do the football thing. Lawrence Taylor, sitting there
They
laughing
loved
himself.
it.
They loved it. I used to go and do casinos with the Refrigerator Perry. He'd be sitting right there, signing helmets, signing Chicago Bears helmets, and I'd be going, number 72. Oh, shoot, no, 27. He's laughing. He's going, hey, 72, that's my number. You know what I mean? It would be like,
Those aren't the guys that are going to have trouble with it. It's going to be the,
it's not even black guys.
So
it's silliness.
in the not too distant future, we got to have this guy. We didn't scratch the surface with this guy, but you teased this. I want to know. Can you share with us the moment when you went with Patty or Trish? I used to call her Patty, but you call her both?
Yeah, well, I call her Patty because Jackie knows her as Patty.
Yeah,
But
so do
I
I.
named her Trish.
Trish.
Because I didn't want,
Okay, so you know her and you're friends and you're a comedian. She comes to see you. When is the moment when you knew we are now more than just friends? Was there a moment when you remember that?
I knew she liked me when I was. I did this to her, and I feel horrible about it. But when I was engaged to whoever it was, wait, I can't remember her name.
Well, that's probably good.
Yeah, and I'm on stage, and Patty would be in the audience. Trish, she'd be in the audience, laughing and smiling, and I'd be flirting with her. I'm engaged to this other girl, and I'm looking at Patty. She's gorgeous, and I'm flirting with her. So one night, I'm doing my set, and afterwards, I guess she had a drink or two, and then she said, "If you ever want to get married, I'll marry you," something like that. She was standing, and I said, "Well, if I'm going to get married, I'm going to marry that girl over there." And I pointed at my fiance. And she was like, she got hurt so bad. And then she didn't come to my shows anymore. But then when my fiance left me, Rosie knew Patty. To
pick up.
Said, he's really feeling, she said, I don't want to talk to him, he's a jerk, this is what Patty's saying. But then we started hanging out. And then we really, really enjoyed each other's company. She was so much fun.
Usually that is the worst kiss of death in the world is friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's like a blockade, but that obviously came down, which is great.
She actually said to me, we were her brother had a mansion that he was selling this mansion. She was staying in it and watching it. And she's sitting on the stairs and she says, and we were friends for the longest time. And she actually said to me one day, she goes, when are you going to kiss me? Like that. Because I didn't even make a move on her. And she thought something was wrong with me. And I go, when the moment is right. And I can't remember the song. I thought it was one song, she thinks another one, but we're listening to the radio, and I think when the Saints Come Marching In started playing, I said, okay, let's kiss now. And then, and she closed her eyes, and I had my Eppy glasses on. And she was like, oh. So she never liked Eppy for the longest time.
Oh, that's...
Because Eppy stole the kiss from her.
Oh, that's hysterical.
What was the name of that song? I can't remember. She's going to yell at me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have this guy back. We're going to get him to promise
that'd
now
be
to
fun.
come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thrilled that
This
you
is-
made
this
it,
is,
man.
y-
So thrilled.
Long overdue. Bob Nelson, Dean of Comedy on Long Island, who, as I just saw you before, gigantic crowds, killing every night. So many times, so funny, still at it.
Yeah.
You're not going to retire.
No.
Good for you.
I thought I would, but
No.
no.
You just do it and do it and
Yeah,
do
what,
it.
Do it
what
and
else
do
am I
it.
going to do?
That's right.
We
This has
just fade away, just fade away.
Disappear one day.
Yes, that's what they say. Old comedians never die, they just fade away. It was
just
General
lose their
Douglas
balls.
MacArthur who said that. I'm paraphrasing.
Go ahead.
All right. Jackie the Joke Man Martling, I am Peter Bales. Again, our thanks to the one and only Bob Nelson.
Thanks for having
And
me,
we'll
guys.
see you next time on Stand Up Memories.
That was a pretty good episode.
A new episode every Wednesday with me, Peter Bales, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, comedians, interesting people. Leave a comment. We'll get. What am I saying?
I don't know.
We're gonna get back to you. We will respond to your comment.
StandUpMemories.com, if you go there, it shows all the different
All
platforms.
Spotify. We're on everything.
Every Wednesday.
Stand Up Memories.
Every Wednesday.
A new episode.